Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show. We are here for yet another review show on this dreary Monday night. But it is enlightened by the fact that we get to talk about Bundesliga football, and I get to talk about it with my good friend Markimus on the other end of the call. How are you, sir? And did you have an enjoyable weekend of Bundesliga viewing?
Habe die Ehre. Yeah, absolutely. It was a fantastic weekend of football, wasn't it? Like the season just feels like it's really starting to heat up now at both ends. Obviously, we saw a lot of important matches this weekend, both sides of the division, and a lot of goals across the board again this weekend, and a lot of key players starting to step up as well in big games. So yeah, we're coming into that kind of. I always say that when there's 10 games left, that's really in a way when the season starts. You know what I mean? Obviously, we got 11 games left now, but everything can change over these last 10, 11 games. So there's a lot to play for, and this weekend definitely didn't disappoint.
No, it didn't. Some big results, some surprise results, and everything in between. So yeah, we're gonna look back on some key games and reflect on match week 23, of course, and everything else in between. So yeah, looking forward to getting stuck in. Just before we do, of course, the usual bits of admin. Obviously, if you're watching us on YouTube, please like the video if you can do. Comment along whether you're watching live or otherwise, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, from a podcast/audio point of view, check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave us a rating, leave us a review. Really love everyone that engages with us. We've had some nice people reaching out actually in the last few days, which has been awesome. So yeah, please do make sure that you share your thoughts and reach out to us and tell us your stories as well, which we absolutely love. So yeah, on with the show, and we're going to kind of do it reverse chronological because we're going to start with yesterday night's mad game between Heidenheim and my boys. Stuttgart sharing a 6-goal thriller in this one. Loads to unpick from this game, Mark, for different reasons. The match, the connotations afterwards, the chat around the referee as well, and his performance in the match, and the kind of intervention of VAR from that point of view. Obviously, coming into this game, Heidenheim were not in form. They'd not won in the Bundesliga for 9 matches previous, having lost 4 in a row. Stuttgart, obviously flying after their excellent performance in Scotland only a few days prior. And been going well in the Bundesliga, which we know of. I guess we all, I think the Stuttgart fans out there would have been thinking that this probably was going to be a harder test than the Celtic match, and it was. Even though Stuttgart did go ahead quite early doors through Chris Führig, really good sharp play to steal the ball away from the sleeping Heidenheim defense, and go straight in on goal and smash that one past Ramage for 1-0. So that shocked Heidenheim, I think, but they did build into the game better and got it back to 1-1 through the returning Dingchi. Good finish actually in the box after being assisted by Christian Conte, because we've got a double header of Contes at Heidenheim these days, which is great fun and super easy to trip over on. But it was Christian who set up Dingchi for the 1-1. And this, Mark, is where the game gets more interesting and tasty. Our first talking point, I suppose, of the show. Stuttgart, I think they've gone 2-1 ahead through Demirovic, a swift counter-attack set up by Führig, and he turns and scores really well. Demirovic is in good touch as well for Stuttgart, so he finished it perfectly well. However, we get this intervention, a check through VAR mark, and the goal is obviously chalked off. Sasha Stegemann goes and reverses the on-field decision, and then goes all the way back to play in the Stuttgart defensive penalty area for a foul by Maxi Mittelstadt. I can't remember who it was on. Might have been on Ibrahimovic, and he then obviously takes the penalty and puts Heidenheim 2-1 up from 2-1 down. A crazy, staging of events. What's your thoughts on this? I've seen a lot of it from the VFB side, and obviously a lot of upset in regards to how this decision came about. What are your non-biased, honest?
Yeah, I mean, you've already said it, Rory. I mean, this was a crazy game for Sasha Stegemann. I mean, there were so many big decisions in this one. And I'm actually going to say this was, for me, the best decision he made, actually, of the match. I mean,
yeah,
whether it should have been allowed to take that long to make the decision is obviously questionable. But for me, it was a foul. When I initially looked at it, I thought, come on, it's very, very soft. But
yeah,
when they slow it down, I mean, we always say when they slow it down, it always looks worse. But you can see it clearly makes contact with the foot of the Heidenheim player. But I mean, obviously they go all the way forward and score a really good goal. Actually, that was the frustrating thing. I mean, poor old Demirovic. He's always been like a kind of like lost soul at times, hasn't he? I mean, he's always had a good goal scoring record, but wasn't particularly liked last season by the fans at Stuttgart. This year has got more liked by the fans, but the problem is obviously he just couldn't get a break in this game. I mean, as you say, puts in a brilliant finish and then it's pulled all the way back for that penalty. And if you're a Stuttgart fan, you're absolutely livid. I can understand that. I mean, you're absolutely beyond livid. From a Stuttgart perspective, it looks like a soft penalty, and I understand that. But why didn't the referee just give a decision, though? Why couldn't you give him the penalty initially, then VAR'd it? Because, to be honest, on the initial play, it did look as though there was a foul there. So for me, referees have got to start making bolder decisions, because for me, it wouldn't even have been that much of a blow for Stuttgart if the penalty had been given initially. But it's when you go and score a good goal like that, Demirovic gets on the sheet, and then you pull it all the way back for an incident that happened, over a minute and a half ago or so. That is frustrating. It's frustrating from a VFB perspective. And obviously what was to come later in the game too. I mean, it almost ended up becoming a refereeing farce, this game, in some ways, to be honest. I mean, the penalty, obviously, I'm sure you were going to come to it, but the VFB penalty was the worst decision of the lot, as far as I'm concerned. That was a clear dive. And he obviously gave the penalty. In my eyes, it was one of those equalising ones, to be honest, because I think he probably felt a bit guilty for the situation with the... and he thought, okay, I've got to give them something now. And he gave them what, in my eyes, was never in a million years a penalty, that Stuttgart one. That was a joke of a decision. And then obviously Heidenheim went in feeling kind of hard done to, didn't they? But... I mean, what came after that was even almost like an equalising for the initial equaliser, it felt.
Yeah. Okay. So we're working our way forward a little bit. What I'll come back to is something that you pointed out, but so the penalty that Stuttgart are awarded is for Chima Andreas. Advancing the penalty area and is he goes down searching for contact, doesn't he? So when it's for you, you're like, oh yeah, penalty. But that was much softer than the Mittelstadt challenge, which is clumsy at best on review, like you say, when it's slowed down. So I understand that. I think you're right. That was an equalising decision by Stegemann. And so you get to 2-2. Then Stuttgart think they go ahead again, don't they, through Demirovic for a free kick, this time from Stiller. And then we're talking about offsides and stuff. I've seen a few clips on socials. I don't think there was much of a replay on Amazon where I was watching it yesterday. So I don't know how the lines were drawn, but I've seen a few things that made it look like Demirovic was not offside. I don't know if you saw that, but if we're foregoing the offside decision and the conversation around that, because we'll be talking about that for the rest of the show, and that's not we don't want to talk about offsides. Stuttgart then get a bit sleepy on the ball and maybe a bit overconfident, and there is a challenge on halfway. Was it on Chima? I think it might have been. Where he's dallying on the ball a little bit, so he invites pressure, but it looks like a fairly obvious foul midway, the sort of fouls that you get in the middle of the park where you're just clumsy and you kind of go into it. Play goes on, and substitute for his brother, Sir Lord Conte goes through on goal. No, sorry. He scores, doesn't he? He scores the rebound.
He scored the rebound, yeah.
Yeah, he does. To make it 3-2 after Newbill saved the original shot. And obviously Stuttgart, go again and they score a legitimate goal for Undab for 3-3. Nate again involved, still enjoying his form, and a good finish as well for 3-3. So yeah, again, we're talking about this trio of refereeing decisions. Mark, the third is equally poor. I mean, that is a foul every day of the week. I think for me, I don't know what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, I actually thought the worst was the offside decision, personally, because, I watched that and I thought, how is he given that offside? I mean, it's almost becoming a farce, really, with this whole, what body part is considered as offside. I mean, they could really simplify this so much better, and that is so harsh on Demirovic to disallow that goal, really. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, really. That was almost as bad as the Stuttgart penalty that they got. For me, those two are absolute stinkers, but also I agree with you. It was a foul in the middle of the park. So I think in the end, I would say Stegemann, he got 3 out of the 4 wrong, ultimately, I'm afraid. I mean, you could argue that the VAR, it wasn't only Stegemann, it was also the VAR team overcomplicating things as well. But it was a foul. The tackle was way too hard, and he took way more of the man than the ball, to be honest. And that one, though, I can sort of let it go, because I'm one of those guys that always has more of a fan of I believe in seeing goals in football matches, and I like to see attackers given the benefit of the doubt. So I would say that one was less of an error than the Stuttgart disallowed goal. I mean, that was truly a farce. I mean, how they found an offside in that. The Stuttgart, obviously the Heidenheim third goal, I would say it should have been a foul, but I can let that one go. I can sleep easy knowing that one that was allowed to stand as a neutral in this game. Anyway, obviously, as a fan, you're always going to be biased. I mean, I'm sure you thought that, the first penalty wasn't a penalty, the second one was. Being a fan just has this kind of weird way of making you see things differently.
Of course.
From my kind of neutral perspective, I would say, the initial decision was right, but took too long of the first decision. The Stuttgart penalty was never a penalty. Then I would say the offside goal wasn't even close to being an offside. And then the fourth one should have been disallowed, but I can live with the fact that it wasn't. That would be my analysis overall.
Yeah, a hard game to summarize, I think is what we're saying, with lots of talking points, which we've done our best to model our way through. But that's the Bundesliga, I guess, and that's why we all love it.
It was a typical Bundesliga game in many ways, and we've got to give credit to Heidenheim too, because he played really well in the game. I thought Dingchi was outstanding. Really, I think if he can show that kind of form, I'm not going to say they have a chance of staying up, but at least they can finish the season with 2 or 3 more wins on the board and get a few more points, get at least into the mid-20s of the points, because they did play really well and they could have won the game on another day. They really could. But both sides, attacked really well. Defensively, a little bit suspect in the game, but it was definitely a great watch as the kind of, finale of the weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, great way to close the weekend. I mean, I guess the result the result had huge. It does have huge connotations, though, and that's why the refereeing decisions are under the microscope so much. Because Stuttgart feel that they've dropped 2 points, which therefore means that they could have gone, a lot closer to Hoffenheim after their draw. They could have pulled further away from RB Leipzig and Leverkusen. But we stay just 2 points off Leipzig as a result. If Heidenheim had gone on to win that, they'd only been 4 points off a playoff spot, which is obviously what they're aiming for. The draw doesn't do them any favors. They need to win games, obviously, which they can't do at the moment. I wouldn't have been happy if Heidenheim won, but the connotations are huge. Like you said, we're into the business end of the season, where teams have to take wins. So yeah, really interesting game to finish the weekend and for us to start our show with. Stuttgart fans, Heidenheim fans, let us know what you made of it all. Completely bonkers, but gives us plenty to talk about. We shall move on and we'll stay around the theme of relegation. And yeah, this was obviously a huge game as St. Pauli took on Werder Bremen, and obviously struck a huge blow in regards to the relegation battle as Werder continued to free fall down the division mark. This was obviously we're talking about the game and the happenings in it. This is not maybe put the top of our list because of the entertainment value necessarily, or the quality of the goals. My lord, we'll get into that. But obviously, again, we're talking about connotations and the end result, which obviously is huge. This is a massive win for Pauli in terms of beating a North German side, which they've not done since 1977, which is massive in itself. Both teams in awful spots in the league. Obviously, St. Pauli leapfrog Werder as a result. Bremen now winless in 13 now, because they were 12 coming into it. Just what is happening for Bremen? I mean, in the first half, they had a bit of the ball, but you think of that first half chance for Jens Steg, the one person, maybe apart from Schmidt, that you want the ball to fall to, and he completely lashes it wide. So that was the big chance of the first half, really. Then the second half is where we got the quote unquote action, shall we say. And we're going to talk about keepers again, aren't we, Mark? And Val gets himself on the end of a header from Sinani, and Mio Backhouse, bless his cotton socks, somehow just lets the ball roll under him. I was trying to think of excuses for him, but I can't. That was just... I don't know if he just lost concentration, if the ball bounced less than he expected. But it's a shocker, isn't it? In plain sight to give Pauli the lead. Just not what you want from your keeper when you're in such a tricky position. Obviously, Werder got themselves back into it. 1-1. This was through super sub Milicevic. It was getting on the end of a Bangula cross. This then was another moment for horror goalkeeping. Vasil just trying to punch the ball clear and completely making a hash of it, then tries to clear it on the floor, doesn't get it far away enough, and it's smashed in for 1-1. Comedy of errors. So that gets it back to 1-1. But just as you think that Werder might, be on the momentum here, that Pauli go down the other end, and a nice cutback from Saliakis gets it to Fujita, and he smashes home. And when I say smashes home, I don't really mean smashes home, because it was a good finish. But again, I'm laying the blame at Backhouse's door, I'm afraid. I think he may have been unsighted. So I get, but he seemed to go down in slow motion The ball was in the back of the net before he even dived. Really, so, yeah. Misery for Werder, Mark. I mean, where do you start with this? There's not been the desired impact yet for the new head coach either. So what do we make of it all?
Yeah, when it rains, it pours in football. It really does. And this was a classic example of that for Daniel Tune's team. I mean, as you say, Stage, like you probably your best goal scorer for the last 18 months, misses that chance in the first half. And if they take the lead, we know Pauli generally don't react well to going back behind at home, and it's a different game. But then obviously not only that, but to give away a lead like that, yeah, it is just, if you're a Werder fan, player, coach, you must be thinking, what is going on here? Seriously, what is going on? I mean, if you're looking for excuses, I think the one that the German media gave, or the German commentary team gave, was that there was a kind of man following in that header. But literally, when I say following in, it wasn't even really a shot, to be honest, the header. It was more like he's just like won the header, probably turned his back on it and thought, oh, keeper's got it. Next thing you know, you see the fans celebrating. You know what I mean? It's just, It's a horror moment for Backhouse, who, I mean, some would say shouldn't even be starting games, because, I mean, when, Karl Hein came in for that period early in the season, he just looked a lot better, to be honest. And for me, I was a little bit shocked that he was like dislodged for Backhouse when he came back from that injury. I mean, I know that Backhouse is their player and Hein is just alone, but I mean, not at the end of the day, you've got to prioritize. You've got to have your best team on the field, and for me, that's what Werder have not done the entire season. They've not had the best players on the field for most of the season. I mean, if you look at this game alone, I mean, the likes of Sugavara were on the bench. For me, a player that should be starting games, Milosevic, who's done well really since he came in, is still only starting on the bench. We've had all the problems with, the whole like fiasco over Boniface and things like that. Oh, it's just been an absolute car crash of a season. It really has. And you feel as though it could get worse for the SVV, as you say. I mean, it was not a good performance in such a big game. Such a big game this was for the away side. For me, probably even bigger than for Pauli, because the expectations on Pauli are less at the end of the day. They're a small club for this level. The budget is bottom 3 in the league ultimately. So they're doing well, really, and they deserve credit again for another fighting performance. They got lucky, as you say, especially with the opening goal, but also to an extent with the second one too, which I agree with you, Rory, was also a Backhouse error. But yeah, one thing you could say about Pauli, I mean, they really are fighting. They are fighting for every point, and that's something that Werder Bremen are not doing right now for me. And normally we always go on about new manager bounce, but we've not seen an inkling of it under Daniel Thune. And they've lost 3 out of 3 now, and only scored 1 goal, which, as you say, was with a keeping error as well. It was 3 goalkeeping errors really in this game. They look like they've got nothing up top at all at the minute. They have got nothing up top. I mean, in this particular game, they went with Gruel, who again, is more of a number 10, really. They'd obviously dropped Top for this game, who'd started the previous 2, I think. Oh, God, they've got problems, really. And I think Peter said it a few weeks ago that this season screams of the Kofeld season when they got relegated. I mean, they were relatively comfortable at Christmas, mid-table at Christmas, and then they just kept losing, basically. And that is 13 games without a win, and most of them have been losses as well. Is an absolutely dreadful run. They got Heidenheim at home next week, which is, wow,
huge.
That is really huge. If they don't win that, then who are they going to beat in the league ultimately? And to be honest, if Heidenheim perform like they did last week and this week, then they're not, they're not out of that game. And I think they're playing better than Werder Bremen at the minute. And wow, that is a huge game for Thune. Say they lose that game, for me, is under pressure already after just 4 games. And it's few would back against them going down right now, to be honest with you, because they just look absolutely useless at both ends of the pitch, truth be told.
Yep, very well summarized. I think, yeah, there's hard to say more that hasn't already been said. I know you and Peter covered them in depth a few weeks ago, and what you just summarized there, I think is completely fair. I think, yeah, again, what you touched upon with Pauli is that they fight. You know, they won a game of football where they had an XG of 0.29. You know, that tells you everything, doesn't it? It tells you everything about the goalkeeping errors. It tells you everything about, you know, the chances that they created in the cold light of day. But they sometimes just find a way, and you know, they're in the mixer for sure. You know, the games that are coming up are massive. Werder's next 4 games are entirely winnable as well. They've got a fairly generous run of games. But equally, if they lose those games, like you say, against Heidenheim and whoever else, I can't remember off the top of my head. But I remember, you know, I think Wolfsburg might be in there as well as a game.
Yeah, it's Heidenheim, Union, Mainz, and Wolfsburg. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You know, so winnable games, nothing to, you know, scare the socks off you, because Mainz obviously are in trouble as well. But yeah, equally, if they don't win, they so much trouble. Really is a tough one for the North Green team at the moment. Moving on to another team in green that is not so mean, and of course Mark's Bavarian brothers, who we get to laud a little bit. So very happy to let you take the lead on this one, Mark, as Augsburg left it late to seal a thrilling victory at the weekend and help the FCR pull away a little bit from relegation worries and damn Wolfsburg into great trouble. Maybe not as deep as Werder, but in serious strife as well. Run us through the game highlights for you and what you took out of it.
Yeah, it was another really exciting and crazy game with also a bit of controversy as well. Obviously, the first half wasn't that exciting in this one, really. There weren't many chances. I think Augsburg, just as they often do early on in games, they were just trying to keep it tight and make sure they don't concede early and things. And they actually had the first big chance, that header from the corner, which hit the post. But then they went behind to really Wolfsburg's first major chance, which was well finished by Gerhardt. So the first half, I wouldn't say was really that much, but then the second half was where it really kind of kicked into gear. And the first moment was, Claude Maurice went past the defender and then was fouled for me. And he was turned down a penalty, which for me was a stonewall penalty, probably more than the one that was actually given in the end. So but that one we'll talk about. I'll come on to that one a little bit more. But for me, that was a stonewaller right at the beginning of the half, and it wasn't given. Manuel Baum was absolutely livid, understandably. But then they got level just a few minutes after that. And it's impressive youngster Ribeiro, who came in really kind of through the back door in many ways, the loanee from Sporting Lisbon. But he's looked good since he came in. And he finished really well through the legs of Grabara for 1-1. And he could be the answer to, you know, the problems that Augsburg have had with the number 9 this season, because they really have... You know, particularly in the Wagner days, they really struggled with that number 9 position. They've tried so many players. They've tried Tietz, Asende, who both obviously left. Kader also played. Kumur. He's going to be the 5th choice at number 9 this season so far. But he, for me, has looked the most promising in that position from what I've seen. But just as Augsburg was starting to look the better team, they went down to probably what was the goal of the game, really, wasn't it? It was Shiogai's. The finish wasn't perfect, but the move, it was a really, really good counterattack involving the likes of Amura and I think Eriksson as well. And then it was well finished by Shiogai. But then, the FCR, we all know that they're a difficult side to put away, and we all know as well that they love playing Wolfsburg. They have a great record. This ended up being the 9th match unbeaten against the VfL, with 6 wins out of those 9 as well, which is a really impressive run. And then obviously the corner went up, and Favreau initially looked like a stonewall penalty. He kind of jumped up with his arm and literally almost punched it. And then, but the Wolfsburg were furious. They thought there was a foul, but for me, there wasn't enough in it. It was the correct decision to give the penalty. I mean, Vavro, he's got problems in his private life and also on the pitch at the minute as well. Because, I mean, he's had a poor season after a good debut season with the VfL last year. And this was a horrible mistake. I mean, you know, if you don't do that, you might get away with 3 points ultimately from this. And to give that away, and there was a big bust up as well, like a really big bust up for this one. I think Wolfsburg were trying to put Grigoric off the penalty. And I think, can't remember who it was, but someone came right over and started trying to move the ball and things like that. But in the end, Grigoric, being the professional striker that he is, he tucked it away very, very comfortably for 2-2. And just as you're thinking, you know, good point for Augsburg, keep the good run going, they were able to nick it as well. With the brilliantly informed Claude Maurice, who's been absolutely superb since Christmas, by the way, he really has. He's back to his form from last season, well and truly at the moment. And he pulled it back to the equally improving Rex Bahai, who'd also had a poor first half of the season and it's started to come into form again, finishing really, really well to send a small bank of FCA supporters behind the goal into raptures. And yeah, that was brilliant, really, for the FCA. A lot of Bundesliga fans celebrating that result. Obviously, it's a tradition club, and it pushes Wolfsburg into even more trouble now. And you look at that squad and you think, how can they possibly be struggling so badly? Because it's still a quality squad, you know. But it's just game management, horrendous defending the whole season this year from them, and just summed up really by the Vavro mistake from the corner, the handball. But the FCA, for me, they've not been as good as they were last season this year, but they're still showing a lot of fight and a lot of guts. And Manuel Baum deserves bucket loads of credit for what he's done at that club. He's gone in and he's rebuilt the FCA to what they were under Torup, as far as I'm concerned. Very, very hard to play against, you know, good on the break and things, and just fighting for every single ball, and much more solid defensively again, which is great to see. We're seeing the best of Dahmen back in form, Zessiger, Schlotterbeck, Noah Kai Banks has done well too. And yeah, things are looking back on the up for the FCA. They're proving very hard to beat again. They're starting to strike late in games, which is always a good sign. It shows confidence. But Wolfsburg are on the other side, aren't they? Obviously only on 20 points now, just, you know, teetering above that bottom three, aren't they, really, after Pauli's win on Sunday. And what can you say? I mean, Daniel Bauer has to be on the brink now, surely. I mean, he's been absolutely horrendous since Christmas. You know, Peter and I have discussed these interims a lot. You know, obviously Polanski, Bauer, none of them have done well ultimately, apart from Baum. Baum is the one that bucks the trend in that. But Wolfsburg, I mean, could we finally see a company club relegated this season? I think it is possible with the VfL at the minute.
Yes, the year of the interim, isn't it, really? Although, like you say, none of them are actually doing well. So apart from Baum, I agree. Really interesting game. I think Augsburg, they're onto something good with that left-hand side of Giannoulis and Claude Maurice. That's a really dangerous kind of left-hand side. I really like that. Was going to mention the new number 9. Looks quite comfortable in that position as well. So I think there's some positives to take there. I think, you know, with the fact that you've got options there as well, in the sense of, you know, we've got this other new striker, Ogundu, who we saw from the bench, as you mentioned. You know, the professional and reliable Gregorisic. You know, he'll not give you 9 and 10 out of 10s every week, but he will be professional and he will perform for the FCA. So I think that's really positive. I think for Wolfsburg, the penalty is just utter bonkers. Like, I just don't get it. Like, how do you put yourself in a position to do that? It's like, might have thought he was playing a different sport for a minute. I really don't know. So that was shocking. I worry about the spine of Wolfsburg for me. And, you know, I love Christian Eriksen. What a player, what a classy player. I love Maxi Arnold, although he wasn't playing. But even so, when they run with those two as a pivot, what do you think? You think lack of legs, don't you? You think, that dynamism. That's why they sometimes put in Svanberg with them or whatever. But he wasn't starting either, I don't think. And so, you have, Gerhardt in there as well. You have Vinny Souza. That's not worked out at all, has it? So that needs fixing for me. They need legs in there. They need a bit more dynamism. And on the moments where Amura can't do anything, then there's nothing else really going on. Dagium has his moments, but isn't consistent, is he? Wimmer and co. So yeah, it's a real worry for Wolfsburg. And yeah, you can see that they're a team also that have forgotten how to win games and see out games. They've lost so many points, haven't they, through losing leads and losing late goals. So it's a real worry for those boys. I think, for Wolfsburg, they've got 2 big home games coming up against Heidenheim and Werder, but the next 3 away games are to Stuttgart, Leverkusen, someone else. So like they have to target those home games, but they need the support. They need people to go and go and kind of get behind them. But I just don't see it happening. The way that they're playing football and the way that they can attract those crowds. It'll be tricky. It really, really will be tricky for them. That is how things went, and a great win for the FCR. Lovely stuff. So there are kind of the big 3 games that we wanted to work our way through. The next 10 minutes or so, we're just going to work through something a bit new and a bit different. We're going to be doing some hot takes. Basically, I'm just going to throw out the odd sentence or two, and basically going to get Mark's initial reactions from it, relevant to the other games that happened this weekend. So a bit still quite themed on this match week as well. So do let us know what you think about that. Just seen in the live chat actually a live comment. So let's pick this up, and I just want to put our attention to that because it's always lovely to see people reaching out. From Courtney House, saying the Werder fan again. I'm devastated. Our last chance is next Saturday at home against Heidenheim, but I got a little hope anyway. Wolfsburg and Augsburg that will never get relegated. Thank you for reaching out, and not surprised to hear how devastated you are. I'm sure as the fan base can be quite bleak right now, so appreciate your comment. Next Saturday is huge for you. Yeah, completely agree. If it goes the wrong way, then you're really wondering where things turn around for Bremen. So as a traditional top club, we very much hope that Bremen can turn it around, of course. But like you say, especially Augsburg are a team that I think will never be relegated. They just know it too well, don't they? And I'm sure Mark will be happy about that. We never know with Augsburg, though, the way things are going for them. And that would be certainly a more popular relegation than, say, Werder. So
It is unbelievable. Augsburg every single year, January, February, March, they just absolutely pull out form every single year at this time. Really, it's incredible. Yeah, I mean, it must be frustrating for other fans of clubs at the bottom, because it's like, every year you think, okay, maybe this is the year Augsburg go, but then it comes to January and they just put a run together every single year, and normally go well clear by April, basically. So yeah, I guess they are that team a little bit, aren't they? A bit like, that's one of the reasons why I started liking FCR in many ways, because they reminded me of Wigan. Like, I'm sure, Rory, you remember Wigan of the old days, and every year people were like, finally Wigan are going down, and he kept at the back end of the season, they just used to put ridiculous runs together every year. And then the one year they finally did go down, they won the FA Cup as well. So that was that was a nice way to say goodbye. So maybe the FCR, the year they win the Pokal, they'll finally get relegated.
Possible. You never know. But yeah, thank you for reaching out and for your comments. Lovely to hear from you, indeed. Right, so to our hot takes. So Mark, I'm going to throw a few your way, and then you can just very quickly, just let us know your thoughts. So first of all, relating to Friday, is Fabio Vieira one of the signings of the season?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Yeah, he has been superb. Another goal Friday night. Great player, great addition to the team. Makes that strike force tick. And yeah, great. Hopefully they can get him on a permanent, but it's going to be tough with given his market worth at the minute.
Yep, lovely stuff. Another hot take: will Amiri get another shot with a quote unquote big team?
Ooh, good one, good one. I think it depends whether he wants it, actually, because I get the feeling he's a player that likes to be a big fish in a small pond, in my eyes. I think if you look at his career, very, very good at smaller clubs. Maybe some would say he flopped a little bit at Leverkusen, others would say it was a hit and miss stint. But yeah, I definitely think he'll get the chance in summer. I think there will be bigger clubs of Mainz in there for him, obviously, with 9 goals he's got already this season in the league.
Yeah.
Or he's even up to 10 goals. He's been really, really good. And for me, we'll have the chance to at least go to someone like, a European chasing team. But whether he will decide to go remains to be seen.
Yeah, indeed. Lovely stuff. Another one here. Are Leverkusen better off out of the UCL to focus on their Bundesliga form?
Ooh, no, I don't think so. Because I think, obviously they've had a lot of success in the Bundesliga in recent years. And I think the Champions League is something that as a club, obviously they made the final way back in, was it 2002 when they played Real Madrid? But I mean, they want to go deep in that competition. And also the money involved with it is huge. Every round you get through, it's like 10, 15, 20 million you're pocketing. So definitely, I think Champions League will be a kind of target for them this year. And if they can get to the quarters or even the semis, then they're going to be rolling in money come the summer.
Lovely stuff. Another one here for you. I think I know your answer to this one. Has Ragnar Ake established himself, has he established himself in the Bundesliga?
Yeah, 2026 is the year of the Arke, I think. Yeah, definitely. I mean, with that overhead kick against Hoffenheim, wow, that was a thing of beauty, that was. Yeah, and he scored a very good goal last week as well against Stuttgart, let's not forget. So he is proving himself to be the striker that all Zweite fans knew that he always was. And it's great to see him out there enjoying himself and finally establish himself as a Bundesliga number 9, which Peter and I had been saying for years that he should be in the end.
Yeah, lovely stuff. These are probably more like hot questions rather than hot takes, aren't they, from me? But anyway, got 2 more for you to work through. Who's more influential for RB Leipzig, Diamande or Baumgartner?
Oh, good question again, Ali. Some good ones you picked out here, Rory. I'm going to go Diamande because I just think Baumgartner, as brilliant a season he's had with 10 goals, he's becoming like the man that's always in the right place at the right time in the box, and I think he's very good with those runs. But Diamande is the class of that team, ultimately. I mean, you saw it on Saturday, making a goal, he got an assist and a pre-assist in that game. And he was just brilliant. And he's the player. He's probably really, you would say, the best player outside Bayern, really, in the Bundesliga right now. I think in terms of raw talent, he's going to be a top player. And we've got to hope he's another one that we're going to get to see more of in the Bundesliga. But, there will be a lot of people, especially Premier League. For me, he looks like a born Premier League player, really, Diamande. I think I could definitely see him as someone like Man United. I think he's a very good player. And for me, I'd have to go with him overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And my final hot take, probably a fairly obvious one. And this is not a question. This is a statement from me. It's time up for Polanski at Borussia Mönchengladbach. What do we think?
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah. And was it ever really time for him to get the job on a permanent? For me, no. I think he's overachieved. He's overstayed his welcome. And you saw the Gladbach fans at the end of that game at Freiburg, and they didn't look impressed. It was a subdued kind of, not necessarily booing, but you could see there were a few disgruntled fans in that ultras group. And I don't know how him and Bauer alike. I don't know how they're keeping their jobs at the minute, to be honest. But the weeks keep ticking by, and they are keeping it. But yeah, Polanski's had an absolutely dreadful 2026 so far, and I think his days are numbered in my eyes.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So there we are, something just a bit new and something different for us to give a go. So I hope you enjoyed my hot takes or my hot questions for Mark this evening. Maybe next week or in a few weeks, Mark, you can come up with some and you can throw them
Let's
my
do
way
it. That
as
was
well.
fun, actually. I enjoyed that.
So yeah, that will be us for this evening. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed with us on this Monday Eve, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening via our audio platform. So Mark, would you like to close things up?
Yeah, so if you enjoyed what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. Don't forget, as Rory already said, we are a podcast as well, so you can check it out on Spotify and Apple. And also don't forget, we are on social media too, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. We will see you there. Thanks a lot for Courtney House for checking in as well. And we'll see you all on Thursday for the next show. So thanks a lot, guys, and servus. Bye-bye.
Cheers all. Bye.